Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Well, welcome back. It is the day before Christmas. And we have a special show today. This is kind of your Christmas treat from me to you. We'll be joined by Dave Clements. So Dave will be joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about episode 17, where he talked about Tina and what President Trump needs to do to get him out. But more importantly is that during that episode 17, if you haven't watched it, please go watch it. It's on the Professor's Record. And I pretty much pushed it out there 100 times. I sent out an email. So I do know that of the people that are on the email list, you all got a copy of this, of David's episode 17 that talks about Tina Peters and what should happen in our country. You know, I keep being told by people, Joe, everything's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Everything's going the right direction. It's going the right direction. And we've stayed pretty steadfast on the election itself. So, in other words, how do we get rid of, everyone wants to talk about 2020, doesn't want to talk about 2022 or 2024. President Trump gets back into office in 2024. Everything's fine, but don't want to talk about the details surrounding three things. One, Elon Musk had to have interfered and made sure that votes from Serbia did not get into the United States. You saw the letter from Peter, the attorney for Tina Peters, and he kind of outlined the people that are responsible. I wrote up the paper related to Substack. I'll probably reshare that sometime in the next couple of days. And then there's the bluff that was written in January of 2025, where I said, hey, listen, here are the things that you should do. And I don't expect President Trump to listen to me specifically. Frankly, enough people have walked him off a cliff that I wouldn't be surprised if he's hesitant to listen to anyone at this point and juncture. So I in the back of my head, I keep going through the same steps that I think we go through every day. And that is, why the inaction? And somebody called me and explained it to me. They go, Joe, listen, there's a lack of trust in politics, period. And if we go back to 2020, in January of 2020, President Trump had the opportunity, or even December of 2020, he had enough information that he could have pulled the trigger and said, all right, let's just go out and, use the Insurrection Act, get to the bottom of this, of what happened in the election. But I'm reminded of a few things. One, President Trump put people in positions as trusted advisors. And much like an attorney that represents you poorly and does so because the benefits on the other side are to benefit him or that person, he had the same issue when you start talking about the CIA and Pompeo and Bill Barr and all of these other people that were in his, Mark Meadows. And you could argue, and this is where I really have a hard time. How do people stay in President Trump's circles if they're bad people? And I think I've come to a conclusion that bad people, good people, I think President Trump has to make a decision not to cut out or throw out all the babies with the bathwater. And you can alienate yourself pretty quick. I'm the guy to do that. I have zero tolerance for people that would create a friendship with a pedophile. And so I've talked a little bit about certain people that are of that ilk. But we have enough information right now that even the people that are on President Trump's side, or not on his side, or maybe on this side, that it shouldn't matter. We should be able to get to the bottom of it very quickly. And I'm just going to walk through a few things that I think are important. One, the deal with Katie Hobbs. So there's somebody that put out information related to the receipts for a racketeering investigation. And I'll just put this up. A foster care group, home operator, Sunshine Residential Homes, quietly pumped $400,000 into Hobbs' campaign, her inauguration fund. The Arizona Democrat Party. And right after the cash hit, Hobbs administration approved a massive 60% rate hike for Sunshine, the only provider to get such a deal. Payments jumped from $195 to $234 per child per day, unlocking millions in taxpayer dollars for one politically connected company. And it goes that they expanded Sunshine's contract from 280 kids to 322 kids. The timeline is devastating. Sunshine dropped $200,000 during the Hobbs campaign. Sunshine State denies their rate hike. Sunshine then donates $100,000 to Hobbs' inauguration. Suddenly, Hobbs approves the rate hike. Sunshine sends another $100,000. The Arizona Republic blows the whole thing open. Lawmakers say exactly what it looks like: a pay-to-play scheme, bribery, fraud, conflict of interest. And because of the repeat donations, state favors pattern, potential RICO violation. So this is what we're dealing with right now with Katie Hobbs. Here's the problem. Every time we have this conversation, and David's here, so I'm gonna take up as much time as with him as I can. But every time we get to the point where we are over to overcome and grab information related to the fraud specifically that happens to the American people, whether we're talking about money going to Ukraine or we're talking about election machines, or it just never ends. And we get to the bottom of it. We're like, okay, we've now got the final bit of evidence. This final bit of evidence is going to put it over the edge. And now somebody's going to do something about it. And frankly, over the last 4 years, we've been sorely disappointed, not because we haven't gotten to the bottom of the fraud in New Mexico, Nevada, Colorado, Utah, Michigan, Texas, Virginia, Minnesota. Yeah, we could talk about all the different states where we've gathered, Arizona, where we gathered up information related to fraud. And we said, okay, we finally got it. We finally have them. And no matter how far you trace it back, going back to 2004 in Venezuela, and then coming in and buying out Sequoia, and then the person that was the chief architect, and then saying that, hey, don't worry about it, Trump's not going to win. They just attack the message and say, it just never happened, which we know is not true. But they get to lie all the way through. And no matter what evidence is put forward, they just deny, and then call it disinformation. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of the segment as well. This is, I really want to talk about what David's working on. I want to talk about his episode 17. And it's great to have him. It's a Christmas present for me too. So David Clements, welcome to the show.
Joe, good to be with you.
Good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
What state are you in?
I'm at home, just running errands. I got some work that's being done on the house, so it's really noisy. So I just there's an old place called Mesilla. It's got some of the best Mexican restaurants in the world, and so I'm just close to the old adobe.
Well, you put out, I do want to show you something. I have a video of John Case, who spoke on Steve Bannon's show. It's about 4 minutes long. I'd like to start out with that and then get into the meat of what you stated in your episode. I call it episode 17 so people can find it. And it'll be in the comments on all the channels as well. But I want to start off with this 4-minute clip of John Case talking about Tina Peters. Let's play it.
Yes, Tina's health is not good. She has a cough that she's had since August. And at times she's extremely fatigued. And it's not just her, Steve. It's every inmate at that facility. The regulation for temperature, for example, is that indoor air temperatures must be at least 61 degrees during the coldest months and less than 86 degrees in the warmest months. And that's mandatory. The temperature in Tina's unit yesterday morning was 96.3 degrees. That is sweltering. And she told me yesterday in the afternoon that it was even hotter. They wouldn't tell the women what the temperature was. They had one fan for several cells so that the women would have to take turns using the fan. One of the guards told one of the inmates that if she and her roommate complained about it anymore, they could be charged with inciting a riot. La Vista is the only facility that doesn't, in Colorado, the only Colorado prison that won't allow video visits with family. It is the facility, La Vista, is not designed for minimum security prisoners like Tina. She's a level 1. That's minimum security for people who have no prior offenses and are not violent. So she belongs in a level 1 facility. But Colorado doesn't have any level 1 facilities for women. That is seems like discrimination based solely on gender. This facility is not maintained. When the DOJ came in to inspect it last week, before the inspection, the inmates were forced to work 16 hours a day, scrubbing walls, painting over the mold, replacing tiles that had fallen off. And the DOJ apparently took note of a lot of those violations of state regulations. I just wanted to mention, Steve, in closing, that Governor Polis can solve this problem. The the Federal Bureau of Prisons made an offer to Governor Polis to take Tina Peters out of state custody and put her in a minimum security facility where she belongs. He refused. On December 16th, Governor Polis said in a public statement, quote, Tina Peters should get the same treatment as other inmates. Well, I'd like to mention one other inmate and the treatment that he got. In 2021, Governor Polis commuted the sentence of a man who killed 4 people by driving recklessly. Governor Polis commuted the sentence of that man 90%. 90% of his sentence was commuted by the governor. So if he would do that for Tina Peters, she'd be out today. And that would be equal treatment with the gentleman whose sentence he commuted.
Yeah, he's not going to do that. You're going to have to win this in court, or we're going to have to send federal marshals in there. You got 2 choices. Either case you win and your legal team, Tickton and you guys, with the law, or you have to use the law, and you're going to have to deputize U.S. Marshals to go down there and get her. Because the Polis is dug in. This is what he's running his campaign for those radical Democrats on his political prisoner that he's got captured.
So you hear him saying that he's not going to do that. Polis is not going to do anything. President Trump has issued a pardon, and I think you laid out a pretty good plan for giving President Trump the authority to liberate Tina Peters. So, first of all, what are your thoughts about what John's saying, and then, how do we get past the rogue state prison system that has basically been weaponized against people that are standing up against the fraud?
Yeah, well, it's a challenge, right? Because most attorneys, they work based off of what they know, and most of them don't know anything about military jurisdiction. And so that's the reason why I made episode 17 about the invocation of the Insurrection Act. Is if you want to win, that's what you have to do. Because if you look at separation of powers, if you look at the precedent that's out there, you'd have to agree with 200 years of doctrine that basically says, no, this can't be pardoned by Trump. And so even I have had trouble trying to figure out a legal pathway, except if you start looking at things through a national security framework. And if you've got people that are part of an insurrection, a real insurrection, I mean, we're not talking about stuff that we have to make up or conjure up. We're talking about aiding and abetting seditious conspiracy to overthrow a duly elected president. And when you look at all of the nexus points, I think it's pretty serendipitous. You've got Eric Coomer in the middle of all of it, a guy that was at the ground floor with Smartmatic. who was birthed by the Venezuelan narcs that were designated as a terrorist organization. He's also a card-carrying member of Antifa, another designated terrorist organization. And so when you look at all of the things that are being done from a national security standpoint, coming off the heels of an admission from Fulton County of 315,000 votes that were illegally certified, using Dominion machines, the same machines that are used in Mesa County. And in the midst of all of this, you've got Tina Peters, this virtuous federal whistleblower. And so if you want to win the jurisdictional argument, you've got to change your paradigm. And that's why you have to start looking at things like the Insurrection Act. And the examples that I discovered were all from the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s. You had Brown versus Board of Education. They were trying to force integration into the schools. And you had a lot of governors, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, saying, no, you can't make us. It's a states' rights issue. They held out all of the constitutional arguments to oppose Eisenhower and then JFK, but they didn't put up with it. And so looking at that and looking at their response, we're talking about Kennedy sending 30,000 troops to enforce the law. Now, some people might push back and say, well, what law are you talking about? We don't have a Brown versus Board ruling from the Supreme Court, and they may be correct. However, we have this thing called HAVA, the Help America Vote Act, which is civil rights legislation, which requires full auditability for it to be legal. And you and I both know it is not fully auditable. And that's why Tina is so important, because with her Mesa reports, what did we discover? We discovered massive fraud. We massive fraud everywhere. So if we're going to have our elections deemed critical infrastructure, why don't we act like it? I mean, that's the $1 million question, because if we thought there was an imminent attack, let's say that someone was going to fire off a nuclear missile towards the homeland, and Tina Peters had critical information to thwart that imminent attack, no one would blink an eyelash at liberating her from a prison to defend the homeland. And whether people like it or not, the nukes and our election system are both part of critical infrastructure, which means she should be liberated. She should have been liberated from the outset. So that's kind of where my mind went. And I wanted to give concrete examples of defiant governors that stood at the front of a schoolhouse that were pulled aside by the National Guard, told to pound sand, and righteousness reigned. And so you want to give people a roadmap that you can do more than just deputize U.S. Marshals. You can send in the Colorado National Guard. You can send in hundreds of MP, military police, and just war game it the way that they've done it before. And it's perfectly legal, provided that you invoke the Insurrection Act, which allows for people to use the military power to restore order. But we have to start recognizing Polis, Griswold, Phil Weiser for what they are, enemy combatants. And I think the reason why I think John and many of the attorneys are kind of grasping around the edges is because they just won't call a spade a spade.
Well, I mean, you're right. They won't. I had this conversation with both of them, with Peter on here. Peter said, just send in the marshals. We'll worry about it later. And that just is an ode to what you said, which is liberate first, play lawyer second. And that's an act. Like you said it, I wrote it down 3 or 4 times as you said it. I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly what we need to do. We keep asking for permission, and even the federal government is asking for permission rather than just doing what is right. And what's right is rarely popular. What's popular is rarely right. But I do want to remind you that what you're talking about that happened in Alabama was in June when the first standoff happened. It was in September when he sends in the National Guard in 1963, and 3 months later they assassinated President Kennedy. So there's some friction that was developed in those few months, And I almost feel like there's been a pullback from doing the things that are necessary. Even President Trump got it kind of wrong. As he was telling you the people the story on what happened to Tina Peters. And so I'm a little concerned. I'm concerned because we have a pardon, looks great on paper, but we don't have the political will, even though it's this one person is the nexus behind all the fraud and kind of breaks through all the narrative, the narrative, the media narrative as to what really happened in our country in 2020. And the other part of my concern is that even as they speak, they keep speaking of 2020. They don't talk about 2018. They don't talk about 2022. They don't talk about 2024. And that's concerning, right? Because they know. I mean, I know that Elon knows. They all know. But it's like this slow dismantling that is causing us to all panic as we go into 2026. Because if we don't get this right, I don't see another way out.
Yeah, well, language is key. Like, I don't want to be dismissive of John or Peter's work. I'm so appreciative that they've stood for Tina. But I think it's helpful, when you can cast a vision for what is possible and you go to history, you look at what's been done before. And here's the thing, here's the catch. The less you use the National Guard for righteous purposes, the more antiquated it feels. And dare I say, people will rarely go back to that. And everyone predicted back in the time of Kennedy that this would have been, the reign of military dictatorship. That didn't happen. As you mentioned, he was assassinated. Eisenhower was the one that warned against the military industrial complex. So it's all projection from, a different strain of Marxist. And so I think we have to be comfortable in calling Governor Polis an enemy combatant, because that signifies something in the national security realm. And if you're going to have people that are going to deny her civil rights through an absolute bastardization of the Help America Vote Act, because we know what has happened to all people's votes. All of our civil rights have been violated. This is the greatest civil rights crime in our nation's history. And you've got a fact witness, a key witness that was responsible for preserving election records when no one else would, which gives her protective status. So you go in there and you rescue her. And you can designate the prison as a federal enclave. And so this is a key concept, because a lot of people are sitting there going, again, separation of powers. Well, not if you actually call Polis what he is. He's a terrorist. And when Trump talks about him aiding and abetting Tren de Aragua that took over parts of your state, Joe, it's like, what else do you need? This guy, it checks off all of the boxes. They've been designated as a terrorist group. You've got Polis. It's giving them leeway to wreak havoc in Colorado, and they're all dialed into the Smartmatic voting machines. So you got to put it all together and look at it holistically. I think people are wary because they don't want there to be some explosive environment where things can go wrong. And I gave several examples. For the most part, things went okay, but you can't promise people aren't going to be hurt either. There were 2 deaths in one of the confrontations. There was hundreds of arrests in one of the standoffs. And that might be what's required. But, this is the time for the commander-in-chief to really show that he's going to do more than just put out a truth post, because he's given strong warnings, right? Harsh consequences or harsh measures are coming. And it's not my job to really tell the president what to do. I feel kind of silly being this guy that's providing an action plan from my garage. But here's what compelled me to do it, Joe. All of us kind of have our issue of, okay, where's my loyalty going to be tested? And people that follow me know that I love Trump. I defend him. I think he's a good and honorable man. If Tina dies, I don't think I'd be able to that wouldn't sit well with me. And so this is not a call to judge him. I understand that he's got to consider things that I can't let my feelings get in the way. But if these civil rights students could be escorted past the mob, surely a woman that helped expose how rigged 2020 was, surely she's worthy of liberation. Because what we've been through over the past 4 years has been absolute hell. And so, it's one of those things. I like, if she gets out unharmed, okay, fine. I think we can live with it. But in the back of Trump's mind, he has to wrestle with the fact that every day that she's in there, you just don't know. I mean, and that's the thing that keeps me up at night.
We've talked about about this a lot because we've had conversations with people that are, you can say it in the circle, dating all the way back to the original in 2020. And this isn't the first time that the Insurrection Act has come up, because it was actually placed in front of President Trump in December of 2020 when they had enough information back then. And all of the information that was found to be credible back in 2020 and 2021 and 2022, now they're having to admit. So we have the admission in Georgia that 315,000 ballots lacked signatures. So they were basically fraudulent ballots. And you could say, wow, it doesn't mean that they're fraudulent, which is another one of these like straw man arguments that put us back in a place where we're trying to chase down things that they wouldn't admit for 4 years, and now they're admitting it. And the reason why they're admitting it is they say we're under a new leadership. David, if you put all this together, what's happening in Georgia, what's happening in Nevada with, obviously we have Andy, who's a pastor that filed a lawsuit there. The work that you did, dating all the way back to 2021 in New Mexico, that saw Coy Griffith get kicked off of the town council, or the town council meeting, or town council as a town council. We can smell the blood in the water, and it feels like that blood in the water, call it what you want, should be enough. It feels like we should be at that place right now where this should be a foregone conclusion. And, we keep missing these opportunities, and yet we have all this information and the media is still lying as if they could just push through it. And we do nothing. It feels like we're not only anemic, but there's some complicity to what's happening. And like you said, if Tina dies in prison, and maybe he says, I did everything I could. Well, you didn't. We can create peace in different countries. Can we get to the bottom of this here? And Bannon saying, you're never going to get him to do anything as the governor. And yet we literally sit here and we have our hands out going, look, we've suffered for 5 years with you. Like we fought for you. Fight for the most vulnerable among us, Tina Peters, and then get to it. It's just not happening. It's not happening fast enough.
Yeah, well, I agree with all of that. I think the tension is you want to operate with optimism, and so it's a lot of people just want everyone to just be on autopilot and march to the beat of Trump. That's not our job. Our job is to be heard, and if enough of us are vocal, 10 times out of 10, Trump responds to the people. So I think he's waiting for the outcry. And so, I'm trying to be as delicate as I can, because I don't want people to think that I'm being critical of the president. I understand the risk involved, because this could be a catalyst where something goes kinetic. And that's the real concern, right? You don't want to have some front page news story where a false flag event is planted into, a liberation effort. And you have to understand, after Butler, what happened with Charlie Kirk, they will flood the zone with sacrificial lambs and create a crisis. So that might be one of the reasons that, the bad guys have war gamed this to the nth degree on, to flood the press. But at the same time, we keep walking past things. And this is something that I brought up in several episodes, is you can't convince me in any way that Trump didn't activate continuity of government in April of 2020. And it accounts for the absurdities that we saw with Biden being this inept president, this ultimate red pill dispenser. And that's one of the reasons why it gives me so much hope. There's a reason why I'm still encouraged, even though I see the tenuous nature of Tina being where she is. And I think where I draw the most hope, Joe, is Trump got in last year. Now, let's just unpack that for a second. Given what you know about the machines, given what I know about machines, there is no way Trump could have gotten in but for a military type of intervention that took place. And I understand Patrick Byrne and some of the narratives out there that, they saved us. I'm not buying that for a second. I think that Gary Bernstein's done incredible work. I think Ralph Pazula's done a bang-up job. But to suggest that 3 people that were on the run, one of them's staying in Switzerland for a year, somehow have the technical wherewithal to, stop cyber interference in Serbia. Like, that's a Space Force thing. That's an Elon thing. That is satellite infrastructure. Whoever's got the keys to the castle. And keep in mind, if this was taking place in November of 24, when Trump, quote unquote, was not the president, how in the world could you have enacted some type of intervention that was lawful unless the military was involved? I mean, these are questions that I think serious people should ask. And if you come to the same conclusion that I have, I think logic dictates that there was something at play for years in the making. And I had a good friend that ran for SOS in California, and I'll never forget the story that she shared with me. She was at Mar-a-Lago with other election integrity activists, and she lost her race, and it was in California. And Aaron and I had analyzed some of the cast vote records, and in at least 4 of the counties that we analyzed the records, she won. We saw all of the algorithmic activity. And so she was pretty fired up. She gave her life to this race, and she sees Trump, and she says, "Mr. President, how are we going to overcome these machines?" And he doesn't answer. He just looks at her and winks. Well, that's not good enough. So she says it again, "Mr. President, how are we going to overcome these machines?" And he winks again. Now she's getting upset. It's like, I'm entitled to an answer. We're all going to bat for you. And she's like, "That's not good enough. Mr. President, I'm asking you, how are we going to overcome the machines?" And he said something to the effect of, "It's been taken care of. Don't worry about it." Okay, so these are little anecdotes that you place together, and he's always got the self-assuredness of someone that knows something that we don't. And so I'm still waiting in faith for that big Trump card to be laid on the table. But the fact of the matter is that we're still playing. We're still in the battle. We didn't lose in last November, but we're not done yet. So I don't want people to leave this interview with nothing but doom and gloom. There's something amazing and providential happened. The fact that Tina is there is also a credit to who she is as a person. I think God has raised her up to be, as I put in the video, the modern day ultimate civil rights icon, because people cannot grasp how central she is to this question of whether our votes mean anything. And so in 10 years from now, she might be, there might be streets and highways named after her. So, keep it in perspective. Once she gets out, she's going to be one of the most celebrated heroes in the nation for the rest of her life. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
So do you think it's going to, I will say it, I said it to Tina when I was talking to her on the phone. I was like, just think of yourself as a Joan of Arc. She goes, "I don't like how that story ends." I was like, "No, but the story up to the ending." Right. And I'm really telling, I told Tina, I said, "I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go out when you go out for your exercise time. I want you to smell the dirt." As an ode to Sparta, right? Smell the dirt. The war is on. You're going to get out. Everything is going to be okay. And she was so angry when I first started talking to her, because she's like, "Look, I'm coughing. I'm in this place. It's miserable. All this stuff is going on." I'm now just blowing the whistle on everything. They're threatening to throw me back in the hole. And but at the end of the conversation, David, that she shares the same optimism that if in all that is sacred and all that is good, like we know that nobody said this life is going to be fair. And yet, as we come out the other end of this, there's some hesitation. A part of us is like, okay, Trump's got it handled. But another part of us says, well, Trump can't have it handled unless we actually create enough friction that allows him to have the ability. Because that's one thing that did happen in Alabama. There's a lot of friction, but there was good friction. There was a lot of good friction to say, let's desegregate. Right. And that's the thing I'm not seeing, huh?
Well, yeah. And here's the other thing. What you just brought up made me think of the stories that we all love. None of us have ever read a story where the hero went through zero adversity. What makes the story great is the level of adversity that they suffer through. So whether it's the Count of Monte Cristo and the guy who's in prison forever, it's the suffering that grabs your heart and you're invested in that person for the rest of your life. And Tina's leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of every virtue-seeking American. And if she were to tell you, yeah, I'm at minimum security, and it's like a golf course, she could have ridden it out. But what you're seeing is real examples of suffering, and that's going to amplify her testimony, and it really increases the blood that is on the hands of the Marxists that carried out the soft coup. So, we have to have faith that if God divinely appointed Tina to be the person that's going to suffer for her country, that he's a good enough and powerful enough God to preserve her and keep her alive through this. That's a prayer. That's more about God's greatness, and people can quibble about whether they think Tina is up to it. But I'll never forget what Tina told me. She told me when she was going through her cancer treatment that she wasn't sure if she was going to survive that. And she remembered telling God, my life is yours. Like, if I don't want to die, but if there's some purpose that you have for me that you need me to carry out before you call me home, I'm yours. I remember having this conversation with her about that. And I think God said, yes, I do have a divine purpose for you. You're going to be the face of the election integrity movement. You're going to be the face of martyrdom in the saving of a country. So while it's egregious and it's horrible, Christians understand that the greatest honor we can achieve is to share in the sufferings of our Lord and Savior. And Tina is doing that. And so she gets what we call OG cred. The people that go into the box, they're in rarefied air. As much as the stuff that I've done, that you've done, we haven't been in that sweltering 96-degree cage while they're trying to kill us. And so she should be honored as the ultimate badass. And so it's like we got to keep our wits about us. We got to keep our emotions in check. We've got to apply the pressure, but we can't lose faith that God's got a plan, and He's going to carry us through. So be encouraged, everyone. You could be frustrated. All I'll say is that the doom and gloom and the cynicism doesn't achieve anything. Use your platform, go to places of consequence, and be that irritable voice that just lets evil know that we're onto them. And we all need to up our game. But I'm going to keep calling for the military solution because, one, it's legal, it's happened before, and I think it's time Trump just becomes the lion. We've all seen that video where with the kind of the hyenas that are nipping at the lion, and the lion has had enough, and he just starts beating the ever-loving shit out of the hyenas. Like, we're all ready for Trump to become that guy, like, now. And so my ardent prayer is Christmas Eve. It's not a prediction; it's just a prayer. That video was a prayer, and I sure hope that God answers it.
Yeah. So, if God doesn't answer the way we wanted to, did He still answer? I'm struggling with this because there's so many ways. Like I figure I got it all figured out. I know we got it all figured out, David. Like we could draft the entire outcome, get it all done. But if God doesn't answer if he doesn't answer the call the way we want it to, we all almost feel like we didn't win. When
well, that's pride though, because like he's sifting and weighing and measuring you and I. I mean, I think one of the frustrations that we've had is that we saw things before other people did, and we were ignored.
We saw dead people,
and it's something that pisses you off. Yeah. There are things that I wanted to happen with Let My People Go to have a breakthrough, and it didn't work the way I wanted. There were people that I relied on that didn't come through when we needed them, and so you see this suffering that was needless. You see the frustration of people that choose their social media clicks over their country, and so all of that's frustrating, especially when you're sitting on the truth and you're just sitting there going, if only more people saw the problem the way that we see it, we could have avoided 2 years of bullshit. So there's all of that, and but I think God is also doing a great redemptive work where it's like, look, when justice comes, you have to understand that God is also a God of mercy. He's going to give people as many chances as they can to do the right thing. And it's like you're storing up bowls of wrath. I think that's what Revelation talks about. But when God moves and finally renders judgment, there's no one that's going to doubt whether or not that judgment was fair or not. I think that's part of what we're building up right now. The fact that more and more people are saying, this is wrong. Damn it. This is wrong. There needs to be a collective sense of that. So when Trump moves, like no one's sitting there saying he forced it. He wants to be in the posture that the American people demanded it. And I had to respond to the demands of the American people. And I think that's what Trump's waiting for. He doesn't want to be the guy that's seen as taking liberties under the Constitution. Even though we provided a legal pathway, you also have to understand that there's a bunch of brainwashed people out there that are going to look for any argument to say what he did was illegal. Let's get to the Supreme Court and let's see if we can overturn it. What I love about the liberation first way of doing things is you can relocate her outside of the state of Colorado, and then there would be zero way for them to enforce extradition. Zero way, because you would have to rely on federal officers that are answerable to the DOJ or Kash Patel. So extradition would be impossible. So you would basically expose the mootness of their power immediately. That's the beauty of it. Just get her out. And if they want to play lawyer, even if the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional, it's like, okay, you can't make me enforce what you're saying because I've got plenary authority as the commander in chief. Despite your ruling, we're not going to put her back in those conditions. So it's a standoff. And I think that's something that's lost on the American people, is that when we talk about plenary power, meaning the enumerated powers of the executive, the legislative branch, and the judiciary, you don't get to determine how Trump is going to wield those powers. And as long as he's got a great argument. I mean, he's got White House counsel. There are advisors in the legislature. Everyone's got a duty to check the other branch. And so this is a perfect opportunity for Trump to say, you know something? Okay, you've made your ruling. Let's see you enforce it.
Well, let's. I mean, we there's another part of this that I'm concerned with, and that is, Polis just asked for relief funds for, there was a fire on the Western Slope, and President Trump said, no, you get nothing. And so then Polis came out and said, it's going to slow things and it's going to increase our utility costs for people. And I'm thinking to myself, for a fire that's 3,000 acres that goes across a mountain range, so that the people are becoming the useful idiots in the middle of this propaganda. And the longer President Trump waits to make this kind of brash move, the more difficult it becomes for people. And that frustration, no matter who you are, most people don't like to go through things uncomfortable because President Trump won't give money on the federal side to help Colorado with this wildfire. And so we find ourselves in this quandary, it's kind of up and down quandary of, okay, the longer that he waits, great. He takes Tina out, great. The Supreme Court rules against him, great. Tina ends up in federal custody and or protected, great. But David, all that I just said, all that stuff that I just said, and I wrote this in a post, everything that President Trump in his first term did was temporary. It was a 4-year reprieve. It not only was undone, but they took it to such an extreme with Biden that he signed all of these executive orders, implemented this Green New Bill, did all of these things. And if you look at the similarities between the first 4-year term and the second, I mean, I'm sorry. I want people to go through the Christmas holiday. That's why I'm having you on for the holiday. Oh, David's going to help me out here.
I'll help you out.
You look at it and go, it's temporary, and we've only undone 10% of the things that Biden did during his term. So we're actually 90% behind right now, and we have to deal with Tina and all this other stuff.
Here's what I'll say, because I was a guest on.
But smack me. I'm okay to be smacked.
No, there's a guy named David Rutherford. He's a former Navy SEAL and really smart guy. And he brought up exactly what you brought up, which is, hey, this looks like they're playing, the slow rollout, wait out the clock. We go through all of these things. We've got these mini victories. And so it's easy to be black-pilled right now. In fact, there's a bunch of people that were Trump diehards that are more black-pilled now. I mean, they think of him like he's the Antichrist.
Yeah,
I'm just not one of them, Joe. And I think part of it is, look, I've talked about my faith, and I've talked about, the supernatural experience. You've heard this on January 6th. And it was transformative for me. I was told we're going to win. Now, he didn't tell me how. He didn't tell me that I was going to lose my job. He didn't tell me that I was going to meet Joe Oltmann. He didn't tell me that I was going to,
That was the best part of all that, just so you know.
Yeah. He didn't tell me about any of that. He just told me we're going to win.
Yeah.
And in faith, it's like, okay, so I'm trying to be that optimist. So here's for the black pillars. If you were to look at the Revolutionary War from start to finish, the victories didn't make sense. The way that, these people emerged, Trump having his horse shot out from, Washington having his horse shot out from under him. There was nothing about our victory that you could say was due to the might of men. It was all due towards the providential majesty of God. And if we know that it's happened at a historical time, it happened in the years of 1776 to 1781. It happened again during the Civil War, where things were just as much turmoil as they are now, probably even uglier because of the actual kinetic war that was there. And maybe if you're living in the south of the Mason-Dixon line, maybe you don't see it as a big deal. But I guarantee the people that were actually enslaved and in bondage, that was a life-changing time in the history of our nation. So we've got two seismic events where probably everyone that has picked up a history book, you're sitting there going, I have no idea if we're going to break through or if this is just more of what we're used to, which is tyranny. Even if you watch Spielberg's movie, Lincoln, the way that the votes were acquired to abolish slavery, it was
pretty crazy. Yeah.
It was miraculous. It was God moving on people that you would have never thought through, so it was a million different people being moved in different ways to bring about something that you're not going to stop God. And I just feel like we're kind of in the same place where it's like, we're just trying to have this breakthrough. And all I'll say is this, Joe, is like that breakthrough is going to come sooner than people realize. And then our challenge is going to be different. It's going to be, who among us are going to keep the memory of alive, knowing how dark this period of time was, to make sure that in your lifetime, my kids' lifetime, their kids' lifetime, we don't go back into this digital slavery. So I just think when you say such a time is this, like, let's not have this as a quip. Like, when we talk about the founding fathers, let's not forget that those were real people, and they saw that there was no legitimate hope, and yet God. Lincoln's sitting there going, I don't know if I'm gonna lose the entire Union. And then God, right? And I think we're in that moment, but God, right? But God. So I think it's just one of those things where we just have to have faith, and we just got to lead the way. That it's God's work ultimately. He's going to work through His body. He's going to work through His people. And I've seen enough of the saints. Joe, you're one of the saints. There's so many saints out there that have given up everything for this nation. And so this isn't like Sodom and Gomorrah, where God's like being petitioned. If you can only find one righteous person, I'll save the city. Like, we've got millions of righteous people in this country that are God-fearing, good people.
Yeah.
So he's just not done with us, Joe. I mean, and so, like, but this wouldn't be a story worth telling if it was easy, if there wasn't suffering.
And I don't actually, I mean, I don't enjoy the suffering. I don't enjoy the process of going through it. I just, this just isn't how I pictured the end of my 40s going. I just figured it'd be different. Like, right now, I'd be retired. I'd have a little Mai Tai. Maybe not. I quit drinking, but it's something other than this, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's like, I could have checked out and, taught at the classroom. Like, I'd still be showing up to NMSU down the road here, teaching, preparing my lectures. And, there's part of me that says, okay, I kind of missed that. But if I had to go back and do it all over again, to choose the hard thing that could have an impact on history, or of just, taking care of my family and taking care of me, I don't think I would have made a different choice. I think it always comes down to what's the truth and how do you come into alignment with the truth. So, we could put the replay in our heads on what we do differently. I don't know. I think where we were deceived, there's a reason for us being deceived. I think when we were awakened, there was a reason for the timing of the awakening. There were jackals amongst us. I think there's a reason, a lesson to be learned by the people that we learned aren't who they say they are. And so this discernment, that we've acquired over the past 4 or 5 years, and I know I'm speaking for the entire nation, everyone's discernment has gone through the roof, right, compared to what we were before. I want to plant this seed. I don't think that God raised up a people to have this kind of discernment for, like, whatever this is. If we get rid of the machines and we get rid of, all the corruption, and we get rid of all the corrupt legislators, I don't think that that's like the end of the chapter book. I think He's actually preparing us for another chapter where we get to use this discernment. We can use these experiences for a truly, when Trump says it's the best is yet to come, like, we get to play a role in that. And so I do believe that we're going to have a happy ending. Maybe we'll have another iteration of this before we die, but I do think that there's going to be a time of refreshing and blessing. And I think it's this year, brother. So
I mean, we only have a couple more days left. So, I mean, I'm hoping it's this year. I mean, I'd love a really nice Christmas present.
It's the year of Jubilee.
It is the year of Jubilee.
250 year anniversary. And Jubilee is a celebration. I think that God knows what He's doing.
Well, and President Trump has a knack for the dramatic. so who knows? President Trump might just like walk out and start, rap dancing. I don't know. I mean, just something just completely out of the ordinary to get it done. Let's talk about his people around him real quick. I've been pretty boisterous about some of the people that are in his circle. And I was reminded today by someone that just says, Joe, you just don't understand the fact that President Trump has no idea who he can and cannot trust because he's in the thick of the
I don't believe that. I don't believe that, but go ahead.
You don't?
No, I don't. I don't.
You think he knows?
This is our own hubris speaking. Like we know.
Bro, I know, but I just
no, you know, and I know. Like we know who's good and who's bad.
Yeah.
But the guy that won 3 presidential elections and sat at the highest, he surely can't know. Like, dude,
okay, I'm full of shit. All right, just ignore everything that I just said. Okay. And by the way, Eddie, you're completely wrong. You're wrong. President Trump knows.
We're so quick. I think there's some. I just want to check that impulse because it's not unique to the person that said it.
Yeah,
there's lots of people that say he's got to get rid of his advisors. He's got to get rid of this person. And if he just did this, it's like, if that's true about him, he's a moron. And he's not a moron.
Yeah, no, he's not a moron.
So he's
like, one of the smartest guys I've ever,
Let's stop doing that. Like the whole point is, and I've talked about this before, we talk about the Machiavellian tactics. We talk about nation-state warfare. We talk about the art of war. And I've said this probably 100 times, Joe. We've all heard the adage, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
Right.
And that is the dumbest advice in the world, unless it's unavoidable. So if someone harms your son and he's staying at your house, you don't say, stay another night. You put a gun to his head and say, get the hell out before I shoot you. If someone steals from you at your company, you fire them. You don't let them stay in there so they can steal more. So when you're in the nation state area, you're never going to be free of Judases. And so what people need to realize is that when you've got the snake and you've got the Judas and you've got all these things, give Trump enough credit that maybe he knows that they are a Judas. Maybe he knows that they are a snake and he can read them. And when they open their mouth and give him advice, that's invaluable because it's an insight into the mind of the enemy. And he doesn't have to say anything. He's basically playing chess going, okay, you just told me what you're going to do. And so that's how you account for the John Bolton appointment. That's how you account for the Fauci appointment. It's how you account for like all of these things where you look at Trump's results, not the people that he pats on the head, not the truth post supporting someone, like Lindsey Graham. It's like, it's all noise. It's all noise. It's like, he's not an idiot. So count me out of the camp that thinks he's just this freaking aloof person.
I should have called you first.
Well, somehow just descended to the highest office in the world. And so I've got my opinions on the things that I would like to see from a Susie Wiles or from a Kash Patel. But here's what I keep telling people. If you think that the way you solve the swamp problem is through the DOJ, you don't understand the problem. It can't be solved by the DOJ. Treason and seditious conspiracy that's not their bailiwick. That's a military commission's bailiwick. If you think that you should be all pissed off that he's inept because James Comey got his indictment dismissed for perjury, and the extent of James Comey's crimes against our nation is perjury, you've missed the boat. And here's the other thing. If we're wrong about Trump and he doesn't do what we think is necessary before his time is up, he's dead. He's a dead man. Everyone around him's a dead man. Or they're going to be,
or his family. I mean, his legacy will be destroyed because they will literally try to root out every part of his existence, and that's how bad the left. I would say the left. That's how bad the evil is.
Yeah,
right? Is that it's so evil and so pervasive that you could see it, smell it, taste it, and I think that's what Elon said. There's a fight between good and evil. That didn't just go away when President Trump was elected. But before you came on, I literally just had this conversation with Eddie, and I was sitting there talking to him, and he said, like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. And then you're like, that's bullshit. I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit.
Well, I mean, like, look, I'm
You're right.
going,
I mean, but it's easy to get caught up in it, right? It's easy to get caught up in.
But it's easy. I'm sitting there going, that's because people that have that opinion, they've never had to organize or lead thousands of people. So you're talking about CEO mentalities, Joe. Like you're CEO.
Yeah.
But compare the Oltmann empire compared to the Trump empire. Know what you've had to navigate to protect and acquire and build and innovate, and then look at what Trump's done. It's like, I'm sorry, the discernment has got to be at least on your level and then some. Or it's kind of like the horse, like the lucky horseshoe. It's like, I'm just not buying it. Like 2016 didn't make sense. 2020 didn't make sense. 2024 didn't make sense. Like for him to kind of survive, and in the process, especially with 2020, we all agree on this point. If Trump had won and the fraud was buried and he eked it out, we would still be plugged into the matrix right now, more or less thinking that
absolutely.
So even that had to occur.
I mean, look, I agree with you now that you say it, but in the meantime, this morning, I was like a fair weather dude. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He's nothing he can do. And he just doesn't know and didn't know who to trust. Before you got on, I said it. Now I got to go back and I got to delete all that things I just said earlier and beg for forgiveness. I was talking to Wayne Allen Root, right? Super good dude, man. And he's just, man, it was like a funny conversation. He goes, President Trump he knows. And I'm like, well, what if he doesn't know? And he's like, it's impossible, Joe. It's impossible. He knows. He knows. He knows. So, and then I just completely fair weather changed overnight. So,
well, here's another. Let me just bring this. Like, you know what Trump has that all of us have?
Big balls.
He's got one of these. Like
he's got a phone.
We can't get what we need to Trump. It's like when you guys are honest with yourselves and you actually ask yourselves, where do you get 99% of your information? It's through your phone. It's because you've got an account on X and you're just constantly assimilating and putting together information and reviewing. It's not like if there's an impact to be made, like if it's loud enough, Trump's going to see it. And if we all have this wild discernment and all we have is access to truth and X and Facebook and our friends, I'd like to think the guy that gets briefed by actual military generals might have a little bit more.
I think you're probably right, but I mean, it doesn't make me feel any better because I just want him to do it faster, and I feel like I'm like a parent that's like telling my kid to do it faster. He's not my kid, obviously. He's a strong dude. Well, the one thing I'll tell you about President Trump that I thought was awesome, I was watching him yesterday, is he did it to the Kennedy Center. He made everybody in DC just flip out. The Trump Kennedy Center. And I was like, that's awesome. And then yesterday, Marco Rubio points at the thing and says, the Trump class, the Trump class battleships. It said it right on the thing, Trump class. I go, he is trolling everyone. And he is the greatest marketer of all time. But more importantly, he's making a statement. He's making a point that this is my domain, which I think is absolutely it's awesome if we can complete it, right? If we can complete it with the people that are on the team.
Amen, man. Well, I mean, like, look, it's not my job to convince people that he's 5D or is perfect.
You convince me.
But it's like, it's just from experience. It's like I've gotten to do some pretty cool things, and it's like it's really not about Trump and his ability so much as what has God called him to. And when you have people that are working in complete obedience to God's destiny,
yes,
then that's where greatness is. And so Trump's got this unique blend of He's extremely competent. He's got this anointing on his life. You can't doubt the anointing that's on his life. And he appears to have God's favor. That's how bullets graze the ear and don't blow his head up. That's how he can come down the escalator and seem to always rebound, years and years later, for all the people that were trying to take him down being exposed. And so I don't necessarily chalk it all up to Trump. I just see him as a willing conduit for a mighty God, just like I think George Washington was a willing conduit. It's just about, can you hear the voice of God? And he's going to steer you straight in ways that may not make sense. And you also have to keep in mind that God's plans aren't like ours. He's looking at souls. He's looking at people that need to make the right decision, because it's going to seal their eternity into one camp or the other. So you've got this huge human story of all of these evil people that we want to see hung or shot. And yet he's also a merciful God that's sitting there going, I love this person more than you do. I love all of these people that are hellbound, and I want to give them as many opportunities as I can, even if that means Tina suffers, Joe suffers, Trump suffers. And so there's this cosmic play that's being unfurled here. And I think on the other side of the event horizon, it's like people talk about a tapestry. Backside of a tapestry is just hideous. It's got all the stitches that show. That's what we see.
Yeah.
And then in heaven, we get to turn it around and see the beautiful picture. So God's got that beautiful picture that we can't see, where he's weighing individuals' lives, their souls. And when it all comes together, then all of a sudden the pacing and the timing of why he acted or didn't act is going to make more sense. But I do think we can cause delay through cowardice. I think we can cause advancements through faith and courage. So our job as optimistic Christians is to always call people to courage, always call them to activism. The Bible talks about contending with the spirit of the Antichrist. It doesn't mean that we're going to avoid the Antichrist spirit. We're called to contend, go to battle, fight, advance against the gates of hell. And so that's our mentality, is like, okay, we're going to speak the words of eternal life on this show. We're going to speak the words of promise. We're going to fight when no one else wants to fight. We're going to call out the liars when no one wants to call out the liars. We're going to lay our lives down for our brothers and sisters. And that's just the way that we're going to live. And then you have no regrets. It's those complaining, cynical cowards that I've got no use for, because you've done nothing. You didn't help us, not when it mattered. And there's still time for people to get into the fight. And so if you haven't done anything yet, now's your time to kind of take the baton in that 4x4 relay and give some other people a break.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sitting here and I'm filling myself up with joy and hope right now, which is awesome, because we have Christmas in 2 days. It's going to be great.
It is, man. It is.
My wife sent me something a couple days ago, and when she sent it to me, I didn't really want to hear it, mostly because I suffer when people suffer. I hate seeing people suffer. I just don't like it. But what she sent me was a poem. She said, "Hurry kills presence, worry kills peace. Doubt kills faith, ego kills love." And then it says, read it from right to left now. Love kills ego, faith kills doubt, peace kills worry, presence kills hurry. And I was like, oh, now I kind of get it. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely biblical, and it's so true. And the more that we can rest in this assurance, I think one of the reasons why people blow around in the wind is, if they pick up their Bibles, they don't pick it up like it's actually real. It's just a story. Yeah. And if people would just have the audacity to believe that what is in there is real, it means you have an answer for everything, every crisis, every Red Sea moment, resources. And I've come to meet people, Joe, over the past 5 years that have met my needs in ways that are inexplicable. When it's like, oh, I don't have the money to pay a bill, and someone gives me a white envelope, and it was a person that was mad dogging me at an evidence presentation that looked like he was pissed off at me. And he comes up to me after the presentation, says, "I'm so pissed off right now because I played golf with the vice president of ES&S, and I want to kill the guy." This is a guy that lived in Nebraska. And he's like, "God told me to give you this." He gave me an envelope, and it had the precise amount that I needed to pay a camera guy to record the Otero commission hearing that we had Jeff Plenberg, where we broke all the breaking news. And that was like $4,000. Like, I didn't have that kind of money. So I've seen like examples like that times 1,000, where God keeps showing up if we'll just trust him. So he wants bold faith. And when he sees it, watch him show up. I think the reason why he doesn't show up the way that people want is that there's still too much of working out things in their own strength. And God's like, well, if you're going to do it in your own strength, why do you need me? It's like he's not answering people's prayers because they're continuing to do things in their own strength. And he's sitting there going, I'm the creator of the universe. You don't think that maybe I don't have some resources that you can use? So I think he wants us to trust him, and he wants to trust us when he gives us the resources. And we are our biggest saboteurs. He's like, I'm not going to give you something good. If I gave this to you, it's going to destroy you. You're not ready for it, right? Because you keep trying to do something in your own strength. So we've got a lot of patriots out there, people that are probably listening to this, that are going, I just don't see him. I don't see him showing up. Ask yourself that sobering question about whether or not you're doing things in your own strength. And if you've ever been still enough to say, okay, I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to do what you tell me to do. And I'm going to watch you show up and provide the resources. And I guarantee you 10 times out of 10, if it's from God, not only will he show up, he'll give you exactly what you need to go to war. And we just have to have a paradigm shift as Christian believers. There's too much of this faithless, apologetic, I'm only reading the Bible, but I'm not living it. And it's a poor way to live.
And I'm guilty.
We all are.
And I'm more guilty now than I think I have been, because I've been getting really angry. People are like, Joe, just stop cursing, stop. And I'll pop off in one of these deals, and I get really passionate about it.
I'm sorry. I just did an airplane. I got a drinking problem, Joe.
You're leaking through your hair.
I misgauged, I misdiagnosed where the hole was on my cup, and you're going to have a nice thing of it going right down my beard. So apologize to the viewers. If you could edit that out, that would be great.
I think we have to leave it. I think we have to leave that in there.
You can do it in slow motion.
Damon is actually listening right now, and he's like, yes, I will.
Like Joe's saying this profound, he's having this profound confession, and I'm just spilling coffee down my beard. I apologize for that.
I woke up this morning, and I've had this thirst for the word, like the thirst for, but I've stayed away from it. I like talking to God, and I'm like, I'm not in a funk, because I'm still executing and doing things. I just, I see things that come up, and I'm like, okay, well that should have came up 3 years ago, rather than having patience and pushing it out there. And it affects how I respond to people too, because I should be responding with, okay, here's another bit of evidence, and just matter of fact, right? But you find yourself getting into that area where I still think there's a void that was created when Charlie Kirk was killed. I still think there's going to be a void created if we get rid of the machines. Something else is going to creep into that hole. I think they're trying to figure out what that is. And so you have these two places that are fighting against each other to say, all right, we have to have option 2. Option 2 is they get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, and then we just blow up and just do lots of bad things, create chaos, and make sure they can't have an election. Like I see my wheels start turning, and I go into battle mode, and which isn't really that helpful, because battle mode.
I mean, like, look, that's you can't change who you are and the way that your motor works, the way that your brain works. I think that's what makes you you. Is that we have enough experience to know how evil works, and they're not stopping. So, of course, they're going to soft sell things like Liberty Vote is a trusted change. People are talking about how the National Defense Authorization Act has a provision for penetration testing. It's like, yeah, that sounds good, but who's doing the testing? If it's not Clay Parikh or someone else, probably can't trust it. Like, how about not having a machine that requires penetration testing? So, like, yeah, we can kind of get, caught up in being so boisterous and kind of angry at people not, taking up our prescriptions. And there's other people that are going to tell you, take it as a win. It's like the soft lull of incrementalism. I saw a post you put out there. You're spot on how dangerous incrementalism is. Like, these are victories, yet it's not really what you're looking for. It's not that abolitionist mindset where you truly are free from the machines. So there have been a series of vendors that have been busy in Washington, D.C., and I know who they are. And they're not good people. And they are trying to skirt around the edges of what Trump's executive order says about, the machines, what they can use and what they can't. And what they're doing is they're creating this framework of digital assist. Like, we're going to let you count your paper, but we're going to have so many vectors of attack through these software and geofencing of ballots where you can still go in there and monkey with the numbers, right? And that's the other thing with Liberty Vote. Scott Leindecker, the guy that acquired Dominion, he's trying to move all of our elections towards processing things on the cloud. So it makes the tabulator subversion of Dominion less and less important. If you can do everything through the internet and pacify people into thinking that you solved the problem because he bought a company, all they're doing is declaring to you that they don't need the tabulator to cheat in the elections to the same degree that they did in 2020, right? So, like, you can see them picking the new terrain to keep us enslaved, and that's why people like you and me never get invited to the prom. We don't get to go out on stage with the fireworks and the pyrotechnics at these places to just tell people your prescriptions are bullshit. Like, you guys are still unable to diagnose the problem and do anything about it. It's sickening, right? And you had someone like Tomi Lahren, the gal. She finally popped up. This is someone with probably millions of followers on social media, and she put out a post about what happened in Fulton County with the 315,000 illegally certified votes. And she's like, are we going to continue to pretend that Georgia doesn't have problems? I'm sitting there going, let me just do a Grok search right now. Like, how many times has Tomi Lahren said anything about the 2020 election being rigged? Grok comes back and says, there have been 0 instances where Tomi Lahren has said anything of the kind. And she was basically calling people like me and you conspiracy theorists for saying that elections are rigged. So, like, you can already see people rehabbing their personalities as the receipts come in, and they can't thrive in their limited hangout worlds. So now they have to refashion themselves as, yeah, we were always with you. So that's what's going on right now, because they want to continue to curry favor, influence people. And it's sickening, but hopefully people are a little bit better at spotting it when it does emerge.
Yeah, I think people are smarter today. I think they have more information. I do believe that they know who's been consistent. And that's one of the things that you and I have both been as consistent over the last 5 years. Like, there's a level of consistency that has never changed, right? And we see other people that get exposed. And you and I have joked, we've sat around and joked about all the people that are in this movement that are just not, right? They're just not consistent. And yet I think people are starting to realize that. I think people are starting to realize the people that say, oh, it's not the machines. And then they come back and they're like, yeah, well, I mean, it's the machines. We were able to prove that it's the machines. We were able to prove that it's the mail-in ballots. And we shouldn't even be having this conversation, yet we have these people on both sides. And I think that's the biggest issue. It's both sides that actually operate as one.
Yeah, well, there's also a post or a clip that I saw today with Mike Davis on Bannon's talking about Smartmatic. Okay, so kudos. Finally, you guys are talking about Smartmatic. But this idea of doing a declassification of Smartmatic's vulnerabilities that apparently was already within the purview of Congress. So they've already been apprised of the vulnerabilities, and this was all classified. So again, there's like this idea of like, what little birds told you that this is coming? Are you trying to get ahead of it so you can kind of, capture the glory? Like, I don't want to be cynical about them saying it, reporting on it. I'm happy that they are, but that gets back to the frustration. It's like, why weren't we pushing for Smartmatic 2 years ago? Disclosures then, like, why was that word something that you couldn't utter on the War Room, or you wouldn't get an invite? Why was Sidney Powell relegated to the dust heap for talking about Venezuela and Smartmatic in 2020 for her failure to release the Kraken, only to find out that the entire book written by Ralph Pizzullo tends to corroborate stuff that she disclosed within 3 weeks of legal research? I mean, so that's the kind of stuff that still bothers me. Is, are we going to see vindication of the people that risked it all when it mattered? Or are we just going to accept this new handling of information as if, the War Room, where we've got someone who's a self-confessed person that's not a machine guy? It's like, are you to be trusted in the year 2026 of our Lord to shepherd us through the machine nonsense when you wouldn't touch it? I mean, these are the things that really drive me crazy, Joe. And so, like, I'm looking to the people that lost something to be the shepherds, and you can tell who they are when it comes to the dominions of the world. It's a short list.
Well, I mean, and the video you're talking about, Mike Davis talks about CFIUS in 2006, 2007, where they were forced to divest because they knew it was a national security problem, because they used these same machines in Venezuela in 2004 to get Hugo Chavez actually elected. And I'm looking at the stuff that Mike Davis wrote down, and here's what's really interesting. Remember the Substack that I put up there, and everyone came to me and said, "Joe, stop talking." Like, I had people that were closely related to the Trump campaign or the Trump camp, the White House, that said, "Can you not put up any more like that?" And I was like, "What? I just told you that Eric Coomer was the chief architect." And they're like, "Where'd you get that information?" I was like, his own words in a New York Times article, who called himself the chief architect and said that he miraculously, as a heroin addict, when they found him, there was a cold call. And I go, they didn't give a cold call. They bought it in March. And by April, they had gotten a guy that was almost on his way to spending 10 years in prison. He had 2 cases out of California that could have seen significant jail time for what he did in California. And at that, he couldn't have passed a background check for McDonald's. And they took a guy that was doing websites for small businesses and made that the guy that is the chief architect of 17 states in the District of Columbia in April 2005. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And that we miraculously found Eric Coomer. Miraculously. Mm-hmm. I miraculously picked him out of 2,500 people that work for him as the Antifa guy. Yeah. It's just, the absurdity of all it is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, but that's one of the, I guess, the silver linings with what's going on in Fulton. It's so vindicates people on such a level, and you can still see, the same mouthpieces for the radical left trying to diminish what it all means. But the fact that Conservative Inc. is now talking about it tells you that their limited hangout didn't work, because now they've got to co-opt it and see if they can start pivoting people to still steer them away from the heart of the issue. And as long as people continue to look at compliance as the fix, you can't comply with these devices.
No.
It's impossible. As long as you continue to have a place for the machines in the ecosystem, you're part of the bad guy. And so that's also going to be a defining issue when it comes to the legacy of Trump. Is can you get us to the promised land where our votes actually mean something? And so 2026 is the year of years, really, when you think about it. This year of Jubilee, this idea of can we have a federal race at least that's done on paper? I think that Trump's going to bring us there. And he did say that the truckloads and use the word ammunition and all those things, it's going to come out. For it to have the weight that it needs to have, though, the disclosures need to come from sources that aren't civilians. It has to come from government agencies. And the reason why this is important for the lawyers out there is that in a court of law, when a government publishes something, it's self-authenticating, meaning it comes in on the rules of evidence. That's one thing that has been a black eye on the election integrity movement for 5 years, is that none of the official government agencies like CISA have, in black and white, put out things that are declarative in the way that we know that things should be declarative.
And that's the sniffing around the edges that gives me pause, right? I mean, it really is. It's not even the misses. It's the hard misses.
Yeah. And so if Trump can get a handle on ODNI and the NSA and start having these official statements of their internal audits of, boom, thus says the United States government, give us the horror story. Let us see, but make sure you've got that official government stamp on it, because that's the thing about the radical left. They're so quick to do an appeal to authority. Well, a judge didn't say, or what was the credentials, or what's the ivory tower?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right? And so you take that ivory tower and you shove it up their self-righteous asses, because it's like, okay, you want to hear from the Pentagon, you want to hear from the NSA, you want to hear the goods. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Trump needs to release to put it to bed, because at that point, guess what happens? Grok and the algorithm changes. Because there's a way that Grok and ChatGPT weigh the credibility of sources based on whether they come from approved or pre-approved sources. As soon as the government starts telling the truth and Grok starts filtering it, like even now, if you put in a question, was 2020 rigged? It's no. Chris Krebs certified it as the most accurate, free and fair election in U.S. history, while there are conspiracy theorists out there. Notice that it draws from an official government figure in an official government office, and that's the truth that's proliferated throughout the largest social media platform. What's going to happen to those algorithms when government sources start saying what you and I have been saying for 5 years? That's going to be the watershed moment.
Yeah, I don't think they can come back from it at that point. I think, and that's the part where I'm going to disconnect. We're not going to disconnect, but I'm going to take a few days off and come back on Monday after we celebrate the birth of Jesus, and spend a little time with the family and really just kind of get out of this realm for a bit. I'm committed to stay away from social media for most of that time, by the way. So if you don't see me, David, I haven't died yet. I'm just taking a break.
Awesome.
All right. So what do you have planned for the holidays? You staying home? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm at home. I'm ruminating on what the next article or video that I'm going to write about. These are pretty intensive efforts. I've basically taken on 100% of the editing now. So the last few videos that you've seen, that's all me, and I really enjoy it. So there's a intense writing and reflecting, and then I have to record in my garage when everyone's asleep, and then I'm editing and learning how to kind of expand on the filmmaking passion that I've got. And the Tina Peters one was kind of like this thing, a burden that I just needed to get off my chest. And I actually wanted to, give a shout out to Juan, because
saving. Yeah.
Juan he's been texting me, and he's been reposting all of my videos on his channels, and he's got a very big audience. And so he would kind of just send nuggets, so I'm like, I'm going to do this video for Juan. So if people don't understand, the Tina Peters video really is for him, because a lot of things that I touched on, while I don't know if he elucidated it from a civil rights standpoint, his vision was clear on what has to happen. And he actually told me, he's the one that told me, we need to liberate her first. And so the fact that liberate first, play lawyer second resonated with you, it's because Juan said that to me. I'm like, damn it, he's right. Like, we have to have the balls to just do the right thing, especially when the law has been upended. Like, we are in such an abject state of lawlessness. Why do we keep playing by their rules? And that's where the military becomes essential. Yeah,
it's absolutely so obvious.
So yeah, I'll be doing that, and I've got to do CLEs to keep up my law license that they keep trying to take from me. That's always an excruciating exercise, to pay the state bar a bunch of money to take classes from absolute bozos. Give them my money only to have them come back and attack me. So that's going to be something that I'm doing right now. And then I think the other thing,
we have an event in February. And
then I've got a hearing coming up on January 12th for my lawsuit against the university. So we'll see if I survive. There's a motion to dismiss filed by the bad guys, which is, expected. They're going to file as many motions as they can. So I would appreciate people's prayers.
Where is that? Should I come there? I should come there.
If you want to get some Mexican food, it's actually, they don't even meet in person. They do
what?
They do it on Google Meet.
What?
So I'll be doing a hearing on Google Meet over the fate of my lawsuit. And essentially, if it's sufficiently pled, I'll survive and live to fight another day. But I certainly want to go the distance. I've told people that in lawsuits, the early stages always favor the defendants, because they have all the rules and all the tricks and things to just try to cut you to death and wear you out. But if you survive them, then the pendulum swings to the plaintiff. And I'm just trying to survive.
Well, I tell you what, the 12th, I just put it on my thing. I just put it on my calendar for January 12th to come have Mexican food with you in New Mexico and hang out. Maybe we'll hang out at the Mexican food restaurant and listen to the thing.
Well, I'll be in the hearing. So
why can't I go? I can't go with you then.
You can be off camera in the room that I'm participating in the hearing, and I'll try to
run back behind you and just not have pants on.
I'll try to have a mute button from you in the back, or go, that's bullshit.
No, I'll say, I object.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, it probably wouldn't help. So there's a lot going on, brother, and I know you've got a lot going on legally and all that stuff. So
$1,000 a day now again.
Jeez.
Yeah. So they just adopted it for the state with a rent judge, and they can't actually run away from. I know it's going to end up costing me $150,000, and so I haven't talked to this Antifa kid in 4 years. I have no idea where he is. I don't, there's certain information I don't know about him. I wish I did. But I'm going to go, I purposely kind of put things out of sight, but if you're listening, it'd be really good if you come forward yourself, because hiding has been a little tough. And Trump's in office, so hey, maybe he'll give you the Presidential Medal of Honor. I don't know.
Well, sounds good, brother.
All right. Hey, it's great to have you on, David. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Joe.
Give our love to the kids and to Aaron, and thanks for being my brother from another mother.
Amen,
brother
brother.
Penn.
All right, love you. Take care.
Love you too, brother. Take care. Wow, man, so it was a pleasure it was a treat for you. It's a big treat for me. But yeah, plan on having him on again. I always feel better every time I talk to David, and yeah, it's gonna be really good. Okay, so a couple things that I just want to kind of clean up beyond that. Oh, but I don't want to leave you with anything negative. I kind of want to talk to you about positive stuff. So maybe I'm not going to do this. We're going to go into the holiday. Here's what we're going to do for the next couple of days. Just housekeeping. Number one, tomorrow and Christmas, we're going to put together a montage of videos. So Selection Code, the Let My People Go, and other stuff. We also have a 3-hour special with B, who is talking about the stuff happening with roaming networks and its connection to Dominion voting systems. And we have another whistleblower, and how that whistleblower then connects to, believe it or not, connects to Eric Coomer, and whether or not we can get that whistleblower to come forward and talk about things, or is that person already talking? There's like a lot of things going on right now related to who's willing to speak about John Polis, who's willing to speak about Eric Coomer, who's willing to speak about Hyder Garcia and some of the other people that came out of Venezuela. We've seen a bunch of like whistleblower videos that have come out, and testimony and depositions, but there's more to come. And I feel like as we go into the new year, that there is a great deal of promise that comes from this. So, we're going to do the next 2 days. We'll have this kind of video you'll be able to watch. You can come visit with each other. And I did put up a post. Somebody just asked about the post that I put up about Jared Polis. Let me just kind of tell you what I wrote. Governor Jared Polis, AG Phil Weiser, SOS Jenna Griswold, DA Dan Rubenstein, Judge Matthew Barrett, and Matt Crane are enemy combatants and should be designated as such. Merry Christmas, arrest the treasonous traitors. Thank you for your attention to this matter. David said it, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like a great post. Let's put that up because it's actually true. Like, these are really bad people. And I do want to kind of talk about a few other things. Dave Bear just got back from Mexico. We are trying to collect as much to help him over this holiday. If you can give to Dave Bear, that'd be great. We sent him down there to get treatment, and we're praying that gets him through, January, February. We won't know until he gets back into this, and then he has to go back and do it again. Anything we can do to keep him with us and with his family is what we're going to be doing. So I do appreciate all the people that have helped Dave Bear and his family. I do also want to talk about Steve Baker. And Steve Baker was the one that broke the pipe, the real pipe bomber in D.C. He had a heart attack, perfectly healthy, never had any issues, came back from Washington, D.C., and has zero blockage. So it's a heart attack that's basically created. And so we don't know what that means. Like, did they stick him with a needle? What did they do to him? How did they get him to that place where he had a heart attack? So that's another thing that we have to be concerned with is, they're willing to kill people. They killed Charlie Kirk. Now, do I believe that it's some sort of conspiracy? No, I don't. I don't know what I believe or don't believe. I don't have enough information. Here's what I know. They killed Charlie Kirk. Do I think that Erica Kirk is some horrible person that wanted to kill off her husband and she's like a praying mantis that ate him after he gave her children? No, I don't believe that at all. And at the same time, I know that a 30-06 was not fired from a gun 250 yards away, and it stopped at the back of his neck. I know that's not possible as well. So there's a bunch of things that I know to be true. There's also a bunch of things I know that are not true. And one of the reasons why conspiracy theories become outlandish is they want to disprove the conspiracy theories that are absolutely true. We keep being found to be true in all the things that we've said. We knew it 4 years ago. We knew it 3 years ago. We knew it 2 years ago. We knew it a year ago. President Trump knew it too. There's the continuity of government. What David was talking about is a real thing. It's a real thing that President Trump enacted. He put the chart up as he's describing when the dip, the lowest number is, and that was when he left office. That was in April of 2020. If you know anything about 2020, he didn't actually leave office till January of 2021. If you believe that he didn't relinquish it so that they could get to the bottom of this fraud, this coup against the American people. And cleaning up like all the things that we're talking about for the next few days, I'm going to take Friday off too. I'm going to give my team Friday off. I do want to say thank you to my team. I want to say that Damon and Patrick is a wealth of knowledge. And if you haven't had the chance to listen to Patrick, he's just amazing. He's amazing. I know that Damon is behind the scenes, but Patrick has a story to be told all on his own, in the fact that he stood up against this DEI that was happening inside of a school. He was an educator for many, many, many years and gave up the passion that he had for children because he wasn't willing to stomach it and sit in the middle of it. So he took a stand, much like taking a stand if you're in the military for a long period of time. He was a dean of students at a school, and they basically kicked him out because he believed that you couldn't and shouldn't be able to attack someone for being white. Went all the way up through the courts, and the courts basically denied it. So he's still in that lawsuit, still going through it, but has the attention of the DOJ right now. And so a lot of things you're hearing about this anti-white mentality and how they're trying to rid it out of the schools, that was directly caused because Patrick is the one that stood up. Patrick is the one that sacrificed his job. And by the way, he tried to get a job in other educational environments. I believe it was God telling him that, hey, listen, there's a different path for you. And so there'll be some times that I have Patrick sit in and do some of the shows because, frankly, he brings a wealth of knowledge. He brings an articulation of the issue, and he does so from such a calm basis that it'd be a shame if you didn't listen to him. So just pay attention to that going into the new year. And then I want to say this for 2020 or 2025. I want to say thank you to you. It's been an up and down year. I say up and down because we started the year with such promise and President Trump's in office and all these great things are going to happen. And then we had this emotional roller coaster, much like we felt for the last 4 years. But in the end, I think God is still in that testing phase, like testing us to, do we have what it takes? Do we have the courage? Do we have the stamina? Do we have the tenacity? Do we have the ability to withstand all the punches without feeling sorry for ourselves or feeling like we're losing? And I'll be honest, there's times that I don't feel like I had that courage. I didn't feel like I had the courage. I think I had the patience to withstand all these hits. And as I sit here and listen to David, iron sharpens iron, I get to that place where I then recognize that it'll be okay. And even if it's not okay, it'll still be okay. So 2025 was a trying year, but in the end, we kind of weathered this together. And, then I went off and said, okay, I'm going to do this podcast with Matt Wallace. And I really like him. He's a good young man. He just didn't fit me. And so then we went from, okay, let's have Matt come in, and okay, and I'm going to do it back by myself. And I finally just settled in on, I just have my team, and you supported that. So I just want to say thank you to you. I want to say thank you for supporting us. And then even through the, multiple posts and trying to get through all the censorship in a lot of different areas and the up and downs, this is a 5-year battle for me. Right. And I just won't give up, but it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. You have the media lying about you over and over and over again, building a narrative that's not true. And it's consistently consistent that we know that the radical left is going to operate in such a way that they're going to try and take from me what is not theirs to take. But you stayed with me. So I do want to say I appreciate you. I love you. Merry Christmas. We get to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Not many understand that don't have Jesus, what that means, but I know that you do. So, and then I'll say thank you to my friends that have given me counsel. Some I've taken, some haven't. And I would be remiss if I didn't actually say hello to Gammy for all the work that she's done. Let me just explain to you what Gammy does. We come here, we speak, we talk, we get involved in things. Gammy, she shows up every day, all day. She sends letters to the governor. She gets on radio stations. She constantly inserts herself into the fray, no matter where it is. And she does so with a reckless regard for her own well-being. And even when she was sick, she was really sick. But even when she was sick, she epitomized the example of what we should be as Americans, fighting to the bitter end. And she gave up her family in the middle of that. So, Gammy, I just want to say thank you for what you've done. Because no matter what we say, no matter what I say, no matter what anybody else says, there are, as David said, there are saints. I don't call myself a saint. I certainly don't see myself that way. But I see myself as a person that serves my brothers. I am my brother's keeper. If you want to see the other people, you can look no further than someone like David Clements or Mark Cook or Sean Smith or Ash Epp. I mean, I go down to CanCon, Alpha Warrior. I can just keep going down the line of people. And Mike Lindell, as much as I'm mad at him for certain things, I still recognize that, he fought to the end too. And did he give up what was not his to give up and it happened to belong to other people? Yeah. And is he going to have to pay it back? Yes, he is. But you have to also recognize that in his selfish desire to serve himself, he still served. President Trump served. And other people served. And many of you, Chris gave up she gave up her job, filed a lawsuit, knowing that the lawsuit was going to end badly. I mean, do you have any stories I can tell right now of people that have fought through this? It's a lot. Some did it for glory. Some did it for the glory of God. Some did it for selflessness just because they didn't like to see other people in pain. It doesn't really matter to me what the reason is. What matters to me is that those are the people that I consider friends. Those are the people that I consider just amazing because you were willing to give it up, even if maybe I didn't agree with the reason why. You still were willing to stand. You still were willing to speak. You still were willing to act. And so with that said, I thank you. I thank you all. You guys are amazing. And if you I don't know what Gammy's doing for Christmas. I know that her family's not talking to her. So I'm just going to put it out there for you guys that she's in Colorado Springs. Yeah, somebody better pick her up and make sure that she actually has a beautiful Christmas dinner. I am in Texas, but somebody should make sure that she gets taken care of. So, I'm proud of all of you. Let's pray it out, right? Let's pray it out. Father God, wow, we are so grateful. We are grateful for David. I'm grateful for this time we have together. I'm grateful for our team. I'm grateful for the times that they can hear me when I just rant on and I expect perfection and hate it when things go wrong. Grateful for the experiences that I've had in 2025. And Father, I'm grateful for this journey. I'm grateful for our families. I'm grateful for our friendships. I'm grateful for our ability for you to see us as a small part of this plan that you have of restoration. Keep coming back to that word restoration, Father. And I know that some of us need to be restored, whether it be emotionally, physically, financially. And yet, as I sit here, David said something that just hit home. And that is, it's going to happen. Everything's fine. We will win. I don't know if winning's the right word for it, but victorious, being victorious in in you, Father. Being able to fix the things that are going on in our communities and heal our children, stop the grooming and indoctrination that happens, bring and meld people back together, get rid of the mainstream media that frankly is rotted to the core, and be able to expose the people that are responsible for all of this institutional rot that we face as a country and around the world. I don't know what that takes, Father. I can't even begin to even fathom how you would get to the bottom of this almost bottomless pit. But I do know, Father, that it will happen. And so we lean into you. We thank you. And as we celebrate the birth of your son, Jesus, we do so in amazing awe of what's happened over the last 2,000 or so years. And just the amazing accomplishments that we've seen happen both in this country and around the world. For the peace that's been forged, and even for the outcomes of things such as the civil war that we had in this country so long ago. We haven't learned at some point, and we haven't not learned. We've studied history. But we do know, Father, that everything comes through you. So as we restore you to the very ethos and the value of our lives as we carry on in our children's lives, we just ask you, Father, to bless us in such a way that we can honor you, honor each other, and get back to the thing that matters most, which is our salvation. We ask these things, Father, humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I thank all of you. Yeah, it's going to be great. You guys have a Merry Christmas. Tomorrow we have the special on, and then same with Christmas. We'll have something up so you can watch it. Somebody find a way for Gammy. Reach out to Gammy in the comments if you guys are in the Springs or in Denver. Gammy, I might put something out on all the other channels. You need to make sure that you're going to somebody's house for Christmas. We got to make sure we take care of you. So God bless you all, and Merry Christmas. Have an amazing Christmas. Make sure that you go to church and you embrace your family and friends. Take care.
Yo, in the shadows of the vote, she stood her ground. Mason County queen, no fear, truth profound. Hard drives whisper secrets they don't want to hear. Election ghosts in the machine, crystal clear. They called it breach through the book, 9 years deep. But she flipped the script, made the liars weep. From clerk's desk to cell block, spirit unbroken. One woman's war, words unspoken. Rise up, warriors here to call the night. Justice echoing through the fight. Bars of steel can't change. Federal doors slam shut, appeal on ice. State games rigged, paying the price. Threats in the dark, knives in the yard. 3 times they struck, left us scarred. But Trump's voice booms, let her walk free. Pardon papers flying, can't you see? From Pueblo walls to the nation's eyes. She's the spark that never dies. Rise up, warriors here to call tonight. Justice echoing through the fight. Bars still can't change the light. Change. Voices unite, break the pains from the heartland to the hall of power. This ain't over, it's our hour. Sing it loud, feel the fire, truth's the fuel, lift her higher. Yeah, from the cell to the stars above, one fight turns to endless love. Rise up, make it right. Through the night, In the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew.